Hello, my Wellish friends. Welcome back to another episode. Today I'm here with Brian Pultro, and he is going to talk to us about all of the things lifestyle and routine. I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself. So, Brian, welcome to Wellish. I'm so excited to have you here. Tell us all about what you are. For people that don't know you, I want to hear like your whole backstory.
Well, I appreciate having me, Sarah. Thank you so much. Not sure everybody wants to hear the entire backstory, so I'll keep it brief. I started my first 10 years of my adult life were spent in the U.S. Navy. I transitioned to the reserves in 2015, became a financial planner at that point, and I'm actually just retiring from the Navy Reserve on June 1st after 20 years of total service. Still a financial planner, married, 3 kids, and recently, over the last few years, especially after deploying to the Persian Gulf twice and 2 other deployments and missing so much time, how I view time, how I value time, how I perceive time, and what's the most important to me has kind of been an obsession around my lifestyle. So hopefully this conversation is meaningful for a bunch of folks.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I really want to talk to the people that feel like their life looks full, but it doesn't feel full in the way that they thought it would. So I kind of want to help the person that's listening to this see themselves in the problem. So from your perspective, what do you think is actually driving people to overfill their lives right now?
I'm going to start with something that happened to me about 10 years ago. And I came across, I'm just going to call it like some article online that I read once. I have never been able to find it ever again, but it resonated with me and stayed with me forever. And the title of the article was, "When is Good Enough Good Enough?" And it talked about 1950s and 60s America, where a family could live off one salary, have a nice single family home, a picket fence, a car in the driveway, food on the table, take a vacation or 2 a year. And then at that time, starting to be able to think about putting the kids through college on a single salary. And it talked about the humble nature with which those dreams were built. Maybe it was a coal miner. Maybe it was a janitor. Maybe it was an administrative assistant. It wasn't things like stockbroker or billionaire inventor. It wasn't those things. It was just how everyday normal people managed to be grateful and thankful for what they had in front of them. And that like resonated with me so much. And to answer your question, we have become a society of overconsumers where we believe that the more stuff we have and the label on it translates to how successful we have been in life, which is the exact opposite departure of the way things were 70 years ago. And I think that's why the mindset around time and the things we need to do has changed, because now everybody's playing the rat race to accumulate all this shit, which they won't take with them when they die.
Yeah.
What does it really all mean? What are we doing with this stuff we acquire? And is that what's really important in life? And I've decided that's not that.
Amen. So, like, what do you think we are chasing when we say we want to do more or to be productive and do all of those things, like getting involved in the rat race?
I don't know that I'm the right person to answer that question. And I only say that because I am grateful to be a part of this micro generation called the Zennial generation. So I grew up without technology, but obviously it came of age when I was growing up at the same time. And I think a lot of younger kids today, they see all these influencers online. They see the things that the influencers tell them they should have, they shouldn't have. They need to get this viral diet, this favorite lipstick, this brand new car, whatever, this new shirt. And they equate their success because they see them online that, well, if I have that stuff, I'll be successful too. 70 years ago, think about who our heroes were. Who were they? They were Martin Luther King. They were heroes from World War II. They were presidents. Now today, if you ask a kid, who's your hero? I'd love to hear the answer to the question, because I guarantee you it's somebody that is influencing somebody on the internet. It is nobody of substance. And I think that is where the mindset has shifted.
100%. I feel like busyness and like packing our lives full and trying to do all of the shoulds and get everything right and make your life look as aesthetic and like what would be acceptable, socially acceptable, internet acceptable is kind of an identity that people have taken on now.
I agree. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows it's very rare that you see someone's social media content be raw and real, right? It's all curated. It's all fake. It's all I took 17 shots to get this one 3-second clip that I put online. It's not real life, but because younger kids see that, they think that is what real life is, and they chase that, and I think that's where we've gone off the rails.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like I feel like we confuse it for having a full life. Like if we fit all of the things, like I've got to make sure that I'm, doing all the things health wise. I've got to make sure that I'm going out with my friends. I got to make sure that I have a good relationship. I got to make sure I'm doing my self-care, that we start to confuse having a full life and an overfilled life. Can you speak on that at all?
Yeah, so I think one of the easiest analogies I use, especially when I talk to like my kids and other folks, is so my first real job as a kid was in the restaurant industry, and I worked in the same restaurant for 7 years, and it was there that I actually learned how to cook, like do real things, learn from a chef, and if you're going to cook a meal, one of the things that all good chefs talk about is showing restraint. It might be, hey, I have 6 ingredients here. I really want to add this 7th. I think it'll be great, but I don't know. Should I pull back and just leave it on the table there? And we don't show enough restraint in society. So when we're making our meal, and in this analogy, our meal is life, it's how many ingredients can we throw into this thing? I don't care what they are. I'll say yes to all of them. I want to throw them all in there. I want to make it look like I'm super busy. I want to be busy because we equate busyness with success. And about 7 or 8 years ago, I picked up this book called 4,000 Weeks. And after I read it, immediately I was like, I'm removing all of this stuff from my life. There's no more ingredients. I want 3, 4, or 5, the things that are really important to me, the things that add value, the things that bring a fullness to life, not all this superficial stuff. So I would encourage folks to keep some ingredients on the table, show some restraint, because when you throw those ingredients together, you can't taste the individual ingredients. It's just a hodgepodge. It's a mess. But when you're living life by focusing on the 4, 5, 6 things that are really important to you, they taste better. They become richer. They become fuller. Your life adds more value. And I'm hoping that's where we go as a society moving forward.
I love that. I feel like something I've really been talking about a lot lately on the show is that your life doesn't need to look good in order to feel good. And I think it doesn't need to look good in order to be good. And instead focusing on doing the things that make you feel good. And I think that's exactly what you're describing. Like if you have the few ingredients that would really make your life feel good compared to being so hyper fixated on what society would approve of that would make you good enough, that you won't be worried about that extra shit anymore.
I agree. What do you want your obituary to say? Do you want it to say, damn, she looked really good trying on that makeup in that store and influencing me? Is it, I guess I just don't understand the necessity to have a life where the goal is to do what others think you want, to do what others believe you should do. So like my obituary, this is all I care about it saying. Good husband, good father. And it's over. And I feel like some kids today, when they view life through the lens of doing more and meeting other people's needs, what is it going to say? Look good in these jeans, flew to Australia, lived with somebody in Costa Rica in the treetop. It's not going to say that, and no one's going to care. Trust me, no one's going to give a shit when you die that you backpacked through Australia for 3 months. They're not going to care. So
God, that makes me take a deep breath.
That's actually full and makes your life real.
Totally. Because it's so funny that you use the obituary example because that is what my psycho brain says to me constantly. I talk about that all the time on here that like I get so hyper fixated on feeling like I have to be able to look back on my life when I'm 80 and feel like I did all of the things that I said I was going to do. I want to be able to like my life. But anytime you hear somebody that's older or whatever, like anytime you think about what a full life means, it is those things that actually mean something to you, like husband, father, making sure you do things make you feel good compared to like, the little stuff. Of course, that makes things fun and adds things in, but we're packing too much in. And I think that that's my biggest pull towards you, Brian, is that I think that you have the idea of keeping things at a monk's speed and like having this alternate way of moving through life that doesn't require you to be so like psychotic about making sure that you pack all of the good things into your life. So I would love it if you could explain what living at monk speed actually means in real life when like, we are wanting to make sure that we're doing the things, but also doing it from a relaxed place.
So monk speed came from a book I read 18 months or 2 years ago called Reconnected by a guy named Carlos Whitaker. And the book itself essentially revolved around him looking at his phone one day. And you know how screen time pops up, tells you how much screen time you've been using? He looked at his phone one day and it said his screen time was like 9 hours. And he was like, I think 50 years old at the time. And so he did a calculation using the method from 4,000 weeks. If he lived to 84 years old, he had 34 years of life left. How much time awake would he spend on his screen? And it came to like 22 years of his remaining 34. And he like had a freak out, like a panic attack. So he decided he was going to essentially disconnect from all screens, TV, laptops, anything, all of it. And before he did this, he got a brain scan. And then what he did is he went and lived with a cloister of monks in California for 3 weeks. And then he lived with an Amish family in Ohio for 3 weeks. When he came back, did the brain scan again, his brain was completely different than what it was before. That's number one. But to answer your question, Sarah, number two is when he's living amongst these monks, they have daily rituals that they do. They go to prayer at certain times and breakfast at a certain time. And he had this cottage up on a hill where he stayed and lived with them. And the chapel might have been 500 yards down the hill. And if prayer was at 7:30, he's leaving at 7:25 and he's walking normal down the hill to get to prayer on time. And eventually, after a day or two, the monks stopped him and they said, Carlos, what are you doing? He said, I'm making it to chapel. And they said, no. Have you looked up? Have you observed the clouds, the birds, the trees, the sun, felt the air, the wind, felt the rocks under your feet, the grass? You need to slow down. Don't leave at 7:25. Leave at 7:10. Walk with your hands behind your back. Breathe deeply. Observe what you see. Take it in. Feel it. See how beautiful this gift on earth we have is. And he called it living at monk speed, essentially slowing down. And that relates so much to what I try to do in my life, because going back to the analogy about all the ingredients, when we're jumping from one activity to another in rapid succession, how the hell do we absorb any of it and take it in and appreciate it? We can't do that unless we slow down and actually absorb what's happening. And that was one of the biggest lessons from that book.
That's awesome. That is so true. Because even if you're doing the things, even if you're packing what you want into your life, you're not appreciating it. You're not absorbing it. That's so interesting. Yeah. Is that what actually changes when you make that shift? Is that you then begin to be able to experience life full, like, and appreciate it more?
I have definitely found that by slowing down, I have been able to observe more around me. See details in what my kids are doing that I've never noticed before. Even just, observe others and how they're living their life just by chilling. So like, kind of like he admits at the end of the book, he was using his phone for whatever it was, 9 hours a day. And he cut his screen back after to like 6 hours a day, which still isn't great. But there's certain times and activities where he still, to this day, at the conclusion of the book, doesn't bring his phone. And one of them is anytime he's on a walk, right? So sorry, this frustrates the hell out of me. Like, I can't stand. I live in a smallish town outside of Philadelphia. Nice town, beautiful, like Main Street and stuff. I see so many people out walking their dogs, walking together as a family. But you know exactly what I'm going to say. They have 2 AirPods in. Am I allowed to curse on this show?
Absolutely.
What the fuck are we doing?
Encouraged.
Right? Like,
Yeah, right.
Why are you not? Like, we've been given this beautiful gift. We have all these senses, and we're cutting them off by watching something on our phone while we walk or listening to music. And it also sends a signal that you don't want to interact with people around you, which also frustrates the hell out of me, because one of the beautiful meanings of life is establishing human connection. And you can't do that if the signal you're sending is, don't talk to me. I don't want to be bothered with you. And simultaneously, you can't hear the birds. You're looking at your phone, so you don't feel the sun. You're not observing anything. Like, that's not living. That's a means to an end. You're essentially shuffling as quick as you can to get something done, and then it's going to be over. It's going to be here, and it's going to be over, and you're going to have missed it.
It's so cool to me how simple this is, because I just feel like, we get so caught up in all of the bullshit that you don't realize how it's not about adding all of this like hard shit into your life that I feel like hustle culture wants us to believe that, like, if you work harder and you do more and you add more, that's when your life will be good. And instead, it can be when you go for a walk, you allow yourself to feel the sun because you notice it, because you're not glued to your phone. You listen to the birds. Anytime I open my window and hear the birds, it's like healing to experience that. So, like, I just think that's so interesting how easy it is. However, I can see, this is my sales brain, is that I'm looking for objections, right? Like, I'm thinking, what are people going to think to, like, that they're going to have an objection to being able to do that? So what do you think are the misconceptions that people might have about slowing down?
It'll be boring.
That's an interesting one. That's not what I thought you were going to say. That's a good one.
I take extreme pride when one of my kids comes up to me and says, Dad, I'm bored. That's literally one of my favorite things I could hear them say. Because my response is the same every single time. And they know what it's going to be. It's going to be great. Now you get to unlock and use your imagination. Go do it.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Like, listen, I feel like that's the... being in the Navy and living all around the world and stuff, there's been so many times where I've had to, I've been at a school somewhere that the Navy sent me to, and I'm there alone. So I go to dinner alone. And I love going to dinner alone. And I don't have headphones in. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm enjoying the meal in front of me, grateful that I have the means to eat this food. But then also I get to observe everybody and what they're doing and take it all in. It frustrates me. I feel like people use headphones and phones as a way of sending a signal to the world. A, don't talk to me, because B, I'm important and I have people to talk to and I'm not alone. But if they maybe gave other people a chance, like if you're sitting at a park on a bench just observing the ducks or whatever, which sounds like this is like from the 50s, but believe me, I actually sit on a park bench and look at ducks because I have a lake right near my house. What if a stranger comes and sits down next to you and you strike up a conversation and become lifelong friends? Can't do that with headphones in. Can't do that with Ryan Trahan playing on your phone. I don't know. I don't get it. Sorry.
No, you're 100% right. No, I completely agree. And I am the same way. That, like, I literally did that last night, went to dinner by myself, and it just it fills me up. It makes me feel good. I'm more likely to interact with the world that way and experience the world that way because you're not distracted by the people that you're with or the things that you're doing or the mission that you're on. It makes me think too of kind of another objection, if you will, of like, the idea of hustle culture, of the idea of what we are told is ambition, that like you can't be ambitious at this slower, more intentional pace. But obviously that's not true.
I think that's total bullshit, and it's a line that's fed to us to make us feel like if we aren't operating at a certain speed, we're falling behind or being beaten out. And I'll just give you this example. On my active duty time in the Navy as a surface warfare officer, pilots, all pilots, whether they're at airlines, military, whatever, they're required to get a certain amount of sleep before they can fly again. Obviously, you should. You're operating an aircraft with hundreds of people on it. I agree with that. The same doesn't hold true for my profession, which was called surface warfare officer. So we're on the ships you see at sea, destroyers, cruisers, etc. It could be 2 a.m. I could be operating on 0 hours of sleep in 36 hours, walk up on the bridge of the ship, assume command as the officer of the deck on the bridge of ship, and drive the ship for 5 hours with 300 people on board. How come I can do that, but the pilot gets 8 hours of sleep? So in that culture, it used to be a hallmark, a badge of honor. How much sleep did you get last night? Oh, no, I only got an hour. Oh, shit, I only got 45 minutes. I'm working harder than you. And then what happened? In 2017 and 2018, 2 ships off Japan, USS Fitzgerald and USS John McCain, had collisions and killed a bunch of sailors. And the Navy said, holy shit, maybe everybody should get the same amount of sleep. And they're actively fixing that problem. I actually, when I hear young people brag about how little sleep they got, I say, you're a fucking idiot. Right? Like that's, why would you brag about that? Is you think that's going to get you a promotion? You think your boss is going to be impressed because you got 4 hours of sleep instead of 7? Oh, enjoy dragging ass today and having an entire pot of coffee. By the way, you probably didn't get to the gym because you were too tired. You maybe didn't read your kids a bedtime story. You neglected something else. Congratulations on your stupid badge of honor about getting little sleep. What is this doing for society? Nothing.
Right. 100%. It makes me think of the people that hype up the 5 a.m. club and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just, even if you go to bed early or do all the things, and like, of course, like that could benefit you if it does, but it doesn't, if it works for you, it works for you. Great. It's not like it means something about who you are now and that you're better than everybody else because you've done this certain thing.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right. It's, if you wake up early, if you wake up at 5 and someone else wakes up at 6, the person who wakes up at 5 is clearly ahead in life. Right? Hey, guess what? I have a secret, Sarah. I wake up at 4 a.m. every day. I'm not doing emails and work. The first hour of my day is spent reading, and the next hour of my day is spent getting ready to go to the gym. And if that means like doing meal prep or whatever, and then I go to the gym, I'm not curing cancer between 4 and 6 a.m. I'm reading a book. I'm reading a book and I'm sipping my coffee and I'm enjoying what life has to offer, because guess what? Enjoying life is not with my face and outlook at 4 a.m. It's doing the things that are going to bring fulfillment and enrichment. And I think you actually, like maybe an hour ago, you kind of just put something on Instagram, exactly what I'm describing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That's so funny. I think that like I love the picture that you're painting because it just makes it sound so real, because I'd be willing to bet that you're waking up at 4, not because like of what it would look like and being performative, but because that just is something that serves you and you just do it. And it's just that simple. There's not like all of these extra things that go into it.
Yeah. Just one of those things where I know if I don't do those things for myself first thing in the morning, once the day starts, they're not going to get done.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about why this concept feels so hard, because as great as it sounds, I think that it is hard for people to shift into a mentality that a lot of our society doesn't follow. So I really want to normalize that resistance that you'll feel when you start to shift into this new life way of living, or just to like get a little bit emotionally or psychologically deeper in this idea. So I know you had mentioned, which I feel like it's really good to talk about this, is the boredom, that like people think that if you're bored, that something is wrong. So why is that not true?
In the book 4,000 Weeks, as well as that book Reconnected, they talk about boredom and how before we had phones at our disposal all the time, boredom equated to something called wonder, which most people don't wonder anymore because we have this thing called Google and ChatGPT. So here's typically what happens. I wonder how tall the Empire State Building is. And then 4 seconds later, there's an answer on Google, right? No one actually just sits and looks up and says, hey, let's take a guess, kids. Is it 800 feet? Is it 745 feet? Like, that used to be part of the playing out of society and thinking through things and being okay with taking the time to discover stuff. Now, with our culture where we need everything at our disposal instantaneously, boredom almost seems like a failure. Because, well, I don't need to be bored. I have this computer in my hand. It just gives me everything automatically. Boredom is kind of a sign of, like, not having something to fill my day. And I think it is an art. It is an art to be bored and be okay with being bored. And I think a lot of folks also don't want to be bored because once they get bored, they have to go in here and get in their thoughts. And many people use things as a distraction to not have to do that. And boredom can
That's
be scary.
interesting. Wow, that's so true. So that you're not comfortable enough inside your own mind to be bored. Wow, okay. Because I could picture too, like, anytime that I'm getting, especially in regards specifically to lifestyle, that, like, if I am feeling bored, that's when I start to spiral about what's wrong with my life and what I'm doing wrong and what I could add and all of this stuff. So 1000%, that would be so crucial, that if you could get secure enough in yourself, you could build your trust in yourself enough that boredom would be okay. You would trust yourself enough to navigate your life in a way that serves you and that you feel good about.
Completely. 100% agree. Yeah.
Wild.
I think to be bored, you have to be secure with who you are and your direction in life. And I think that is very, very, very hard today.
Totally. Other than boredom, what other negative emotions do you think people come up for people when they try to slow down?
You know, I wish there was some amazing answer to give, but I don't think it is. I think it's the societal pressure that if you slow down, you're falling behind. And then I think that's an incredibly real pressure. You know, when I was applying to college, it was, hey, were your grades good? How was your SAT? And did you play a sport and maybe do one extracurricular? Now I have 3 boys, and it feels like, okay, you got to be an Eagle Scout by the time you're 13. You got to play 3 varsity sports. You have to have 1,000 community service hours. You have to have invented something. You have to have a 4.0 GPA and a 1,600 on the SAT or whatever it is now. And it's like, I get frustrated because I feel like societal pressures may be robbing my children of their childhood. They're not being given the chance to be children because of the pressure. My oldest is 13, being pushed down to such a young age to do all this stuff to pack the resume even before they start high school. It's crazy. I think it's the societal pressure of how it's changed. Going back to what I said at the start of the show, when is good enough good enough? And the bar for good enough has shifted. And a lot of people are chasing that bar. I refuse to. I want to back away from the bar.
Amen. I love that. How much of it, because obviously so much of it is influenced by, like, social media in our society and all of that. That's what we've been talking about. But how much of it do you think is internal, like that it just strictly comes from our overactive mind? Or do you think that it's only overactive and we're thinking about it because of what we're exposed to?
It's a great question. No one's ever asked me that one before. I think it's probably a combination of both. So like I said, I really love it when my kids tell me they're bored, and I try to do my best to protect time for them to be children, like go catch frogs, go play in the mud, that kind of stuff. And when parents decide, okay, as soon as school's over, we have piano lessons, then we have Boy Scouts, then we have flag football practice, they have now made a decision that they are going to place that pressure on their own kid, not just society, but themselves. And the kid starts to feel like, hey, you know, if I don't do all this stuff, maybe mom and dad won't be proud of me. I mean, if I just want to go ride my bike with my friends and play tag and play basketball, will they be disappointed that I'm not taking piano lessons or not playing baseball? Like, that's got to be really fucked up for a kid to think. And then that permeates through adulthood, because after you leave the nest and you're in college or whatever you decide to do after high school, then you have that societal pressure from social media. You should only be sleeping 5 hours a night. You should have six-pack abs and do all this stuff because you're at the gym all day. And it just keeps compounding and keeps compounding. And I'm just trying to do my best in my small little bubble to show the folks around me that I care about, my family, my kids, my friends, that, this can be good enough. It is okay.
I love that. I like the idea of challenging beliefs. Is there a belief that you think people need to challenge in order to get to this place that they can slow down?
I don't know that. I am not convinced that hustle equals success. I'm not, you obviously have to hustle to be successful. I own my own business now. I had to hustle, but the hustle that society has created for us, that hustle doesn't necessarily lead to success, and success does not equate. Material wealth does not equate to success. There are many times during the week where, if like one of my kids comes up and hugs me for no reason, I say this out loud because I believe in positive affirmation and getting it out to the world. I will say, I am the richest man in the world, unequivocally. There's nothing more I need. I have a wife that loves me. I have kids that loves me. I can put food on the table. I'm okay with catching fireflies in the backyard at night while leaving my phone inside. Please tell me what more I need. And there's just so much pressure to have a closet full of Air Jordans or have these specific clothes or drive this specific car, because if you don't have those things, you're not successful. And that really kind of shatters my heart for the way society is headed.
Yeah, totally. One of those things that I think equates to success that I'm really working on challenging this month is the idea of having perfect lifestyle design and perfect routines. And so I'm really trying to bring that exact concept that you're saying, like the practical, repeatable lifestyle shifts, to be a normal thing. So if somebody wanted to create a life that actually felt good, where do they start at this idea that they should just focus on what they want to do? But then I kind of struggle as well, because like you obviously have to be disciplined. So where's that balance?
I try to think about, people make like New Year's resolutions, and every single year I'm changing 74% of my life on January 1st. Like, that's not attainable. It's impossible, right? No one can do that. Maybe David Goggins can do it. That's about it. So, I try to get 1% better every day. And that is a small thing. So like I said, I wake up at 4 a.m. every day, and that's because of my military history. It's just ingrained in me.
Oh, sure. Duh.
Yeah. But like, my wife, she has trouble waking up super early. And one of our goals this year was trying to go to the gym together. So one of the things that she's done to be able to do that just this year is, hey, each week I'm going to set my alarm 3 minutes earlier. 3 minutes earlier, with the goal of going from a 6 a.m. wake up to a 5:15 wake up. And now we're at a 5:15 wake up. So she's been able to do that. So it's just small incremental changes. And it's not that you have to, jump in and say, I want all of these things to have this fulfilled life and I want them now. It's, what are those things that you enjoy? When I was younger, I enjoyed reading, but I got away from it because I was in the rat race of doing other things. And a few years ago, after reading these books, I said, I really want to read. There's so much out there for me to absorb and attain knowledge on and become enlightened on. I don't have time in my day to do it. When can I fit it in? And that's what became my 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. routine. And by the way, this is a side effect of all this stuff. You wake up at 4 a.m., you immediately do emails or whatever, and your brain is going, you I mean, I don't know. Are you a person who wakes up and drinks coffee right away?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to wake up and immediately turn on the news and sit at your laptop, tell me how that coffee was.
Yeah, right. You have no idea.
No idea. But
Yeah.
I would
It's just
say,
like routine.
yeah, I would say in the last like 2 or 3 years since I've been doing this 4 a.m. reading thing, like, have you ever had like wine or coffee where it has like tasting notes and you're like, this is insane. Like crushed gravel is not in here. What is lotus flower? Like, I feel like when I'm sitting drinking my coffee in the morning reading a book, I can actually taste the coffee now. Like, oh yeah, this does have cranberry in it or cherry or whatever.
Yeah.
It like
Yeah.
slowing down increases your ability to have your senses go into overdrive because you're in the moment and present and you're not distracted by the phone, the laptop, the TV, whatever. And
Yeah, totally.
those side effects of just picking one thing you enjoy and doing it and slowing down while you do it, like they're incalculable. I didn't know I was going to be able to taste coffee when I started reading, but now I can. And it was just a side effect of doing one thing I wanted to do and making time to do it.
I think what's cool about what you're describing is that a lot of the time when we want to make our life better, we think about what we can start doing, and what you're describing is what we can stop doing. Like, and through that, you are saying things that you can start doing, like start incrementally waking up early and earlier, and you can start going to the gym with each other, but it's because you're stopping, or you can start reading. It's because you're stopping, like, the psychosis of making sure that you're doing all the things right and making sure that it's good enough.
Yep. It goes back to the analogy about the restraint in the kitchen. You take away some ingredients, the whole meal you can taste, and it's better. That's kind of what I'm trying to do.
Okay, well, so then how do you decide what actually deserves a place in your life and what doesn't?
If it's going to cause drama, anxiety, or distract me from the things that are important, like my family and kids, it's a non-starter. It won't come in the kitchen. It's out. That's essentially the rule.
I love that.
That simple.
Interesting. Okay, what does a well-designed day look like compared to a productive one?
Why can't they be both?
Ooh, hello. Okay,
Yeah.
I love that.
Why can't they be both?
Duh,
Are you asking me
100%.
for like my perfect day?
Maybe, yeah. Tell me. I would love to know.
I think I truly believe that the morning time from like 30 minutes before sunrise to just after sunrise is the most beautiful time of day, especially, when spring is here and the birds are all out and you can feel a nice cool breeze. So it'd be wake up at 4, go downstairs, pot of coffee on, coffee's done. I grab the coffee. I grab my favorite book I'm reading. I have a very specific chair I sit in my house. I could either sit there or when it's nice out, go outside. I'd read till about 5:30. After that, I'm essentially getting ready to go to the gym, get there at 6, do my workout. 7:15, I am home, breakfast. But the point of going to the gym when I do is before I head into work, I now have time again to slow down. So when I come home from I used to come home from the gym, you have 30 minutes to shower, eat breakfast, and get in the car and go. And why am I doing that? Because then when I arrive to the office, now I'm already stressed. My adrenaline's pumping because I didn't give myself time to just relax and chill. So when I get home, one of my favorite things to do is just sit, hang out with the kids, play fetch with the dogs, talk with my wife, maybe sit outside. And that's like an hour of my day is no phones, no screens, just sitting and talking with them and being with them. And that starts my day. And then I think that sets you up to begin your day in a place of gratitude for what you have, going back to being the richest man in the world. And then when you start your day full of production, if it begins with this gratitude for what you have, how can it be a bad day? Coming to the office, I'm a financial planner, so I get to help people all day. And then as soon as I come home, the rule is phone is in the briefcase from the second I walk in the door until about 8:30. At that time, again, playing basketball with the kids. I'm cooking dinner because I love to cook. We're hanging out, throwing the football. Maybe they're bored, so we figure out something to do, which is great. I might check my phone for 5 minutes between 8:30 and 8:35, and then it's gone away again. After reading Reconnected and going through the screen time panic, I've successfully got my screen time down from like 6 hours a day to about 2.5 a day, which I'm like thrilled about. My ideal day is rooted in doing nothing.
I love that. I love that. And knowing that that makes you happy and that that is good. It's building a lifestyle that supports you compared to making you feel like you are like having to self-deprecate.
Yeah. I think part of this, I'm just thinking about this now in my line of work as a financial planner, right? When we have clients and they're with us for a long time, ultimately many of them die while they're in our practice. And, there's been hundreds of studies on this. 0 people on planet Earth on their deathbed have ever said, I wish I spent more time at the office. I wish I spent more time packing my schedule full of shit that didn't matter. Every single regret of the dying is, I wish I didn't work as hard. I wish I spent more time with my family. I wish I took those vacations I kept putting off because I thought work was more important. Why are we not taking lessons from those people? They're essentially they're coming at us from the future telling us, if you're not careful, you're going to have the same regret I am. So change it now. And I feel like so many people are just ignoring those warnings.
Yeah, totally. It makes me think that like that's the key to burnout. Like that you won't be burnt out if you focus on living a life from a relaxed place, that you want to enjoy your life compared to making sure that you're doing the most.
Yeah, I completely agree. 100%.
Yeah, I love that. You've talked a lot about being present in your relationships and the energy that you carry in your home. So I want to talk about that expansion from where you are doing this because of your own quality of life, but the impact that you have on your overall life. So can you talk on how making this shift has really impacted your relationships?
It certainly lowered my anxiety drastically. And I think the anxiety I used to have, people felt it. Like it was high, intense anxiety because I was just overthinking and worried about all the things I had to do or didn't get to or should be doing. And when I was able to slow down and focus on the things that mattered to me and live with a mindset of gratitude for what I did have, then the anxiety started to melt away because my focus wasn't on all those things I had to do or should be doing. The focus was on these riches I've been given that are right in front of me. And knowing that that was enough allowed me to block out the noise of society and all the expectations, and in turn lowered my anxiety at the same time. So I think over the last 2 or 3 years, it has allowed me to forge closer relationships with people, more deep meaning. I was at an event last night and I was chatting with a guy I've known for a very long time. And I asked him, the first question I asked him was, how are his family, how are your wife and kids doing? And I know, and this is God's honest self-reflection, 2 years ago, I never would have thought to ask that question because that's not what's important. What's important is, how's business? Are you taking that vacation? What are your plans? But no, that's how's the family? That's literally the most important thing. And I try to lead with that now. And when you lead with that, I think people are genuinely like shocked by the question, because most of the time it's, how are you doing? How's work? How's business? That doesn't matter. How are the kids? How's the husband? How's the wife? Those are the things that matter.
Yeah, totally. It just makes me think of what you were describing about feeling the sun, tasting the notes in the wine or coffee, that you get to develop the relationships with people because you're noticing things. You're being intentional about what you absorb from people and what you put into them and what you're willing to be vulnerable about, and building the skill of being vulnerable and connecting with people, because when our faces are shoved in our phones and we are not developing those people skills, you lose it. And being able to do that more and more, obviously it develops further and your relationships improve.
I completely agree. And that's been, we talked a few minutes ago about the byproduct of some of these things just slowing down. I talked about being able to taste the coffee, and another byproduct was my relationships have just grown so much stronger. And that's not something I would have thought would have been an outcome from slowing down and realizing enough is enough at some point. But it's just been one of those unexpected surprises that's been really great.
Yeah, 100%. I like that you make that point too, because I think a lot of us do that as we think like, oh, no, I'm good. Like I've got it all figured out. I know how to have connections. I'm a very social person. I can do all of the things. And you don't realize how much it fucks you up.
Yeah. You know how, like, when you see someone, and it might be a friend or an acquaintance or someone at work or whatever, and you ask them, hey, how you doing? This answer's the same every time. I'm doing good. How's the family's good? Family's good. Every single this goes back to the culture I had in the Navy, where when you asked someone how they were doing, they would sarcastically reply with, I'm living the dream. And that always frustrated me. Because, like, what if it actually is the dream? I'm in the middle of the Mediterranean on a cruiser. Okay, like I'm away from my family. I get three hot meals a day. I'm on this ship. I'm doing something that I think is important in the world. Yeah, I actually am kind of living the dream. So when I ask someone, hey, how you're doing, and the automatic standard boilerplate response is, I'm doing great, family's great, I stop. No, Sarah, seriously, how are you doing? And they're always taken aback by that. I genuinely want to know, how are you? How are you? And they're like, holy shit, like, he's like, let me assess what's going on and give them a real answer. And I love making that connection.
Yeah. You know, what you're saying makes me think of what I've talked about in the past about gossip, that it's just an easy out. Like, it's so easy to feign connection with people because you're talking shit about something or someone else, or feigning connection by, you know, spilling all of these, like, what are, like, I don't know, like, problems that you've dealt with in your life, instead of saying that. Like, no, tell me how you really are. Tell me what's really going on in your life. Tell me what you're really passionate about. What are you really working on right now that you feel really proud of, or that you're struggling with? And that's how you build genuine connection with people. But people don't take the time to do that, or it's just, it's not even harder. I don't even want to say that, but it's just easier to, like, just default to what's socially acceptable.
But do you know why it's easier?
No, tell me. Tell me.
I'm not saying I have the right answer. I have a guess as to why it's easier.
Okay.
We need to move on to the next thing. That's what society tells us to do. So if I say to you, no, Sarah,
it's faster.
Seriously, how are you doing? I have now committed to myself to a deeper conversation that might take 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. But this is the part that's frustrating. Maybe you really need that conversation. Maybe me asking you how you are is something you've been hoping for months, because no one around you seems to notice that you're struggling with something. But I'm not going to ask that question, because if I do, holy shit, what if you do spill the beans on me and now I have to take you to coffee and 2 hours out of my day is gone when I have all this other stuff to do? I've got to clear my inbox. So I think people shy away from actually asking the question seriously, hey, how are you? Because they don't want to actually engage in that conversation. You're violating every single rule I've been talking about right now.
I know, right? What the hell? Why is my Alexa yelling at me? God. What was I going to say? What was the last thing? Hold on. What was the last thing you just said to me?
Violate. How people...
Oh, asking people how they are.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Okay, well, so I think that we're rushing for what? Like, everything in my whole life, like, I can hear my mom's voice in my head from the time I was a kid constantly telling me, slow down. Because even, like, getting through a conversation, or, like, telling a story, or, you know, anything that I was, like, trying to connect with people, I was so hyper about either getting to the next thing, like, that's nowadays, you know, that's my adult brain trying to, like, work and pack everything into my day. But, like, thinking from when I was a kid, you know, just trying to make sure that I'm, like, doing all of the things that it causes you to do things from a sped up place. So I think that's interesting.
It's like, it's almost, and by the way, I'm guilty of it too. I said at the very start of the show, I'm sure people don't want my entire background, so I'll speed it up. I did that. I'm still guilty
True.
of doing it, right? So it's like, in some ways, I'm just storytelling is coming to the example, but, if, as you just brought up when you were younger, if you were trying to tell a story or someone, you might subconsciously feel, I have got to rush through this because my aunts and uncles have
I'm wasting their time.
Yeah, I'm wasting their time. My aunts and uncles have more important things to get to, like adult talk or go to the driving range or whatever. And that stays with us and again, that's part of the deeper connection. If I'm not going to give all the details of the story, what's the point of telling it? Right? Or
Yeah. God, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me think of interrupting too, like that everybody's interrupting each other constantly because it's like, you want to make sure you get your point across and
yeah.
God, that's so bizarre, Brian. That's so weird. I feel like another thing that happens is like your energy gets drained. When you're overfilling your life, you don't have the energy to do what you're describing. Like you don't have the energy, your energy is being completely sucked by all of the extra bullshit that you think you have to do, that you can't take a second to say, hey, how's the wife and kids? How are you really doing?
Unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, yes. The answer is yes on that. And those small little extracurriculars that we say yes to because we think we have to, and there's the pressure to do that, I do believe drain our energy. They don't allow us to focus on the things we really want to, like me reading a book at 4 a.m. They don't allow us to have the deeper conversations. They don't allow us to be better parents and be present because, it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of thing. And when we have all these distractions that are slowly bleeding our energy, we don't have anything left for the stuff that truly is important.
100%. Okay, so for the letting go of doing it all point, what would you say to somebody that felt resistant to letting it go? What would they gain? What do they need to hear?
I think the hardest part of letting it go is the initial reaction from your peers and your family and friends. I think that was the hardest part of saying no to a lot of stuff because it didn't fit what I wanted to, and then them wondering why you're saying no. And sorry, I forgot the very first part of the question.
No, just the idea of letting it go. Why is it so hard for people? Why you were right. I mean, you're on the right track.
I think it's hard because of how you'll be judged, but it's also hard because you're transitioning to a place where your brain is moving at 1,000 miles an hour. And once it slows down and you really see what's around you and what you have in front of you, and then you get in here, that is scary. And the easiest thing to do is just speed back up again. And you have to be able to, it took me years to fight through that and unload things off my plate that were causing stress or were drama filled or were bringing me anxiety, that were distracting and draining my energy. It's not something that I did overnight. But once you can fight through that initial fear of the judgment from the outside world, to include family and friends, and then the fear of having to face what's in front of you, it just like unlocks this whole new dimension of life that you didn't know existed.
Thank you for making that point about how long it took you, because I think that because this stuff is so simple, it is so simple to leave your phone at home and go on a walk and hear the birds and feel the sun. But it takes years to be able to build the skill to set boundaries with the people in your life so that you can slow down. It takes years to be able to set boundaries with yourself so that you don't feel the need to pack everything in anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely not something that can happen overnight. And especially because our phone is an appendage to our bodies. Like if someone got their phone at home and went to work, how much anxiety would they have for the rest of the day? Like, that's a real thing.
Right.
So
100%.
You go on a 10-minute walk and leave your phone at home. You're going to have anxiety the first few times you do it, but it's that little baby step, that 1%, that 10 minutes, and then maybe the next time it's a 15-minute walk. And then after a year, it turns into an hour walk. And then eventually you forget your phone and you're like, I don't give a shit, because guess what? I'm going to be out here observing the world and connecting with people, and it's a lot better than looking at a screen.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the small shift that the person listening could make if they feel like their life is too full, to just do a little bit at a time and add it more and more. It doesn't have to be rigid. It's just, being more intentional about it.
Yep, absolutely.
I love that. So what does a good life mean to you now versus what it did earlier in your career and in your life?
A good life to me 10 years ago meant essentially trying to keep up. I was transitioning off active duty and becoming a financial advisor. So a good life 10 years ago was keeping up with world politics, market news, reading as much as I could voraciously about what was happening, maybe going to as many seminars as I possibly could. And those things were not allowing me to be present with my family. So the good life now is making time to never miss a volleyball game, never miss a Boy Scout event, never miss a flag football practice. And just sitting, in a folding chair, taking your shoes off, grass on your feet, watching your kid play flag football, phone in the car. That's another thing. I'll maybe get to that in a second. That is the life. Like, you are not going to remember when you're 90 and on your deathbed how many emails you sent. It's never going to happen. But those memories about your kids being younger, those connections you made with friends that one crazy night in New York, or that trip you took to Italy, those are your memories. And I'm trying to sear as many of those memories as I can in my head, so later in life I can recall them, because I'm certainly not going to recall how many emails I sent at 4:15 a.m.
Yes.
The tangent, sorry, real quick, I was getting off of is,
No, please.
like, one of my pet peeves. Like, my oldest son is in the jazz band at school, so we go to these concerts because they perform in the area, these competitions, and I think you might know exactly. Here they come. They come on stage. What happens?
That's hilarious. For anybody listening, Brian just whipped his phone out. So
Yeah, so it's like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, first of all, this isn't the 90s. You don't have a camcorder on your shoulder. This isn't like National Lampoons where he sits in his attic and he's watching those old tapes from the 50s. You are never going to watch that video again. Let's be real. It's going to go into the cloud.
100%.
It's going to go into the cloud. You're not going to email it to your kid in 30 years. It's not going to be put on some VHS tape. Why are we watching? 99% of parents watch their kids' lives through their own screen.
Goddamn.
I get so frustrated.
Yep.
No, put it down. Listen to the music. Watch their facial expressions. Just get involved.
Be
with
there.
Them. And it's the same thing on the football field. Okay, guess what? Your kid threw a touchdown. You missed it because you were recording it. You're never going to watch that tape again. You're not sending it to Texas A&M to have them recruited. That's not happening. Why are we watching through our phone?
Right.
Sorry, I went off on that one. It just
I love that. So when I was in college, I was reporting for a local newspaper. I went to school for journalism, so I was working for them. And I was able to go to a speech. It was like a conference of a man that had summited Mount Everest. So he came to tell that story. And he gets through his huge, it was like a 2-hour conference, 2 hours speech. He talks about how he gets to the top after long amounts of time and brutal preparation and brutally on his body. He's passing dead bodies, not everybody makes it up there. People die doing that. So he does this really incredible thing. He gets to the top and he gets there right at sunrise. And there were several people that pulled out their phone to record the sunrise at Mount Everest. I mean, what a fucking cool thing to have on camera. But he said, I don't have any pictures of that to show you guys. I don't have any video to show you guys because I was going to be in that moment. Yeah. And he's the one that did it. We all didn't do it. We all, I mean, this sounds maybe harsh, but like we all don't get to see it. We didn't do it. He did it. And so he gets to keep it inside of his mind forever. Yeah. And I just think that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's a great way of relating to what I said. It's completely true. It's just that picture that everybody else took, which they'll frame on their wall, whatever. That's great. But I mean, let's be real. They'll frame it on their wall to show it off. This guy had a humble accomplishment in his head. It's for him and him only. It was a private moment. He'll tell people about it. But what he experienced is for him and him alone because it's his accomplishment. And that's what makes it cool.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think is one reminder that you think everyone needs to hear about how they're living? Other than like literally everything you've said, if you could pick one thing about what to tell somebody, what would you say?
About how they're living. You're generally assuming that I don't agree with how they're living by asking this question.
I do, yes. Mm-hmm. By the people that are packing their life with busyness.
I can't say one thing definitively. Having missed a lot deploying so many times with the Navy when I'm out, like when we're out to dinner as a family. I was at a restaurant down the street maybe 3 weeks ago. Our family sitting at a table, and next to me is this mother and her child. She must have been 10 years old maybe. Her mom's sitting there. Her mom is on the phone watching some sort of video online, and she wasn't wearing headphones, so the video was playing out loud. And the child, and I wanted to reach out and just hug this little girl because the child was mortified because I feel like she somehow had this adult concept of what was important and what was real. She kept looking over at us like, I'm sorry that my mom is listening to this stupid YouTube video and it's ruining your dinner. I also simultaneously wish she would pay attention to me and have a conversation with me about my day. It was almost heartbreaking. And people are, just like they're afraid of boredom, they're afraid of silence. If you and I were to sit quiet right now and say nothing for a minute, most of your listeners would probably think it's awkward. Maybe even you might think it's awkward. Silence is great. Once silence occurs, you go deeper. And the mom either didn't know what to say, didn't know how to interact with her kid, or was just afraid of the silence and used the phone as a distraction. So like the recording of like the football and the concerts on the phone, and then having phones on the dinner table. Guys, listen, if you have kids, you know this. It ends in a blink of an eye and then it's over and you're never going to get that time back. And you're never going to say, I wish I had watched more shit on my phone. You're going to say, I wish I had asked my kid about their day, their hopes and dreams, how they were feeling. And because I missed so much time of my kid's younger life deployed, it makes me so mad that other parents take the time they have with their kid for granted by ignoring them and being on their phone. It's like one of those things that makes my blood boil whenever I'm in public. I haven't answered your question. I think the ultimate question would be, we are so blessed to have all of these things around us that we have to realize sometimes good enough is good enough. And that also means you don't need the phone as a crutch for distractions. It's okay to be bored. It's okay to live in silence. It's okay to not have this thing that makes other people think you're busy or important when you're really not. Just let it go and see how you feel. It'll be uncomfortable for the first few times. But once you realize you don't need that thing to live a rich, fulfilling life, like I said, it unlocks an entirely new thought process that you never even knew was there.
Totally. I like that you bring up the silence thing because that's something that I think about unconsciously, I'll say. Like I have thought this as long as I can remember. So I know I'm not doing it because I'm like trying to do something. I think that the relationships that I've had throughout my entire life, whether I'm have a relationship like a friendship with these people or not, the relationships that I've been able to sit in silence comfortably with those people are the best relationships that I have had.
The people most comfortable with one another are the ones that don't need to say anything to one another. They just know they're there for one another. They know they got each other's back, and they get one another. And you don't have to fill the void with noise just to pretend like you have a deep relationship.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So to wrap us up, I like to play a game with my guests. It's a game of 8 rapid fire questions to highlight that you don't have everything together, even though you have talked so great for the last hour.
Okay.
So the game is called Kinda Toxic, Kinda Well. Because you have a lot figured out, though, most of my guests do have pretty good insight into whatever the question is. So however you feel called to answer is how you answer if you're down to play.
So, okay, I'm down to play, and the answers can only be kind of toxic or kind of well.
What or who are you jealous of right now?
No one.
I love that.
Am I allowed to answer that?
I love that. Fuck yeah, you are. Yeah, absolutely. Because it shows it's possible. What's a moment recently where you caught yourself ignoring your own needs or choosing yourself instead?
All parents need breaks, and I feel guilty when I decide that, hey, I just need to go veg out for 30 minutes and watch something. I feel guilty about that, but that is a necessary evil. So going back to what you said about people think I have my shit together. Okay, I mean, I've maybe figured something out, but I'm a normal human too. I still need to watch bullshit to let my mind relax and just forget about all the expectations of the world for a half hour. And, I did that. I did it last week with my kids, and I felt guilty as shit about it because of all the stuff I told you, but it was just something I needed, and I needed it to be a better parent. It recharged me so I could continue to do what I thought I needed to do. I
love that. What do you find yourself overthinking about these days?
Every single thing beyond my control. And that is...
That's so real.
Yeah. Tom Petty has a line in a song that's called Crawling Back to You. He says, the things I always worry about tend to never happen anyway. And that's me. I worry about all this shit that's never going to happen. And that's where the majority of my anxiety comes from.
Fucking same. Where is a should, like an expectation that you've put on yourself that you've let go of, or one that you know you still need to?
I mean, this is, I think, the same for anybody who has kids. I should take care of my health better, and I have started to do that. But as with any working age adult who has a family, that is the first thing to fall off the wagon when your time is truncated. And it's stupid because, hey, I'm going to not take care of myself so I can deal with these other things. Oh, and then by not taking care of myself, I don't have energy. I feel like shit because I didn't work out. Now I can't focus. Why would that be the first thing to go? That's so stupid. Why do I do that?
What's something that makes you quick to get annoyed or angry?
Phones.
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah. People on screens. I mean, just, I don't know where you are, but one other thing, America's 250th birthday, Independence Day. How many millions of people are going to film fireworks with their phone and never watch them again?
100%.
Okay.
See, that's what I like about content creation is that I feel like at least I can put it somewhere because that's the old, but I'm never going to watch it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's a toxic thought you still catch yourself believing?
That if I'm not a perfect parent, I am the worst parent in the world. And that happens all the time. In the Navy, we have after action reports where we assess something we did throughout the day and reflect back on it and try to figure out how it gets better. And one of the bad things I've taken with me is doing that on how I spend time with my family and kids. And typically my assessments are harsh, and they need to be less harsh because I'm not striving to be perfect. I'm just striving to be present. And as long as I'm accomplishing that, even if I drop an F-bomb or say the wrong thing or, throw a basketball too hard and make somebody cry, I've still engaged with them and be present. And I need to stop being so hard on myself about that.
I love that. What's a wellness rule or trend that you don't buy into?
All of them.
Love that.
I just saw one this morning. This is the new thing, right? The 3 to 5 day sardine fast.
What?
I'm not making this up. I actually saw it because a friend of mine who I used to serve with the military, he was a Marine. He showed a picture of him completing day 3 of only eating sardines. And I looked it up. I said,
Shut the fuck up.
I swear to God. I said, is this true? And there's videos all over the internet about how if you only eat sardines for like 3 days or 5 days, your skin will glow. You'll drop 10 pounds. You'll have all this nutrient. And I'm like, shut up.
What are we talking about?
Exactly.
What are we talking about?
And then,
and like
in 3 weeks, it's going to be
Yeah.
the 5-day banana fast.
Yeah, 100%. What's fucked up about the sardine one is it makes me think like you could see how there could be a little truth in the fish oil making your skin better, or only eating sardines would make you skinnier.
Yeah.
So people do it. It's fucked up.
Apparently it's
That's
viral.
Crazy. That's wild. I'm going to look it up. If you could leave my wellish friends with one piece of advice on becoming more well than toxic, what would it be?
Do an assessment of what the most important things in your life are. I'd be willing to bet that the most important things in your life are the things that are literally right in front of you inside of your 4 walls. And the vast majority of the shit outside of those 4 walls doesn't matter. And if you can learn to focus on making the connections with those things inside that 4 walls, including yourself, more deep, I think you'll see just insane amounts of self-worth, self-respect, and the most important thing, not giving a shit what society thinks about you.
I love that. Where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. My website is pultrofinancialmanagement.com. I try to put out videos all the time educating people on finance. They're pretty stupid, but a friend of mine, like my elementary school, is literally right out my window. The person who does my marketing content, we've known each other since kindergarten, so a super long time. And I enjoy making the content with her. But my goal is, like I always tell folks when they sit across from me, guess what? I put my pants on the same way you do every single morning. Just because I have a license that tells you I know a little bit more about finance than you doesn't make me better than you, a different human being. I'm not on a marble pedestal, right? We're going to do this together. And I try to make my videos like that. Like I want people to understand that I'm just a normal guy who has anxiety, who worries, who has stresses. I'm trying to figure my life out. And, you can be approachable while still trying to figure shit out and maybe kind of be wellish at the same time.
Absolutely. I love that. I have to say before we finish is that I needed this conversation today because as you know, I have to apologize again. I was late for this interview and I had a busy fucking morning and I was running around and I was trying to pack all of the things in, and it made me show up in a way that I very rarely have ever been late to an interview. And I don't like that. It makes me feel bad about how I show up and what I'm doing. And that's more important to me than all of the other bullshit that I was worrying about this morning. And then my Alexa goes off during it. You know what I mean? It's just there's so much shit that we pack into our day, and I needed this conversation more than anything. So I know that I'm not the only one that did. So thank you for it. And thank you so much for what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Sarah. This was one of the best conversations I've had, and I appreciate you pulling all the stuff out of me that hopefully will help some folks. And I appreciate, the honesty that you've shared with me and being able to share it back with you.